Obviously, wide receiver is the big one. And there are some names out there. I'll give you guys my list of candidates that I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers will, could, and possibly should look at over the next day or so to try and boost their offense and their wide receiver room. And don't get me wrong, I'm not upset with keeping Scotty Miller. I look at Scotty Miller as a valuable asset who could do a lot of things. I think the Steelers need a gunner, but I look at Scotty Miller as a guy that could make this team just a little bit more reliable when it comes to that slot position, especially if Roman Wilson isn't going to be ready for week 1. Here are my names. Noah Brown highlights that list. I mean, I think he's the only one of the entire group that is healthy, available, reliable, and could probably fill a bigger role than the Pittsburgh Steelers have currently. That being said, I don't look at him as an upgrade over Van Jefferson. He's not an upgrade over Van Jefferson. I think that's the biggest thing we got to get out here is I don't believe there is an upgrade over Van Jefferson when you look at who's available just simply on the market right now. I didn't see anybody get cut. You could talk about Terrence Marshall. You could talk about Tim Patrick. You could talk about Donovan Peoples-Jones or Noah Brown. They're all good names. I don't think any of them have a higher bar than Van Jefferson. Maybe they add a little bit more boost. Maybe some of them have a little bit more upside, but I don't think any of them are better than Van Jefferson currently in their career. There are names that I think have a little bit more potential, and I'll tell you one that snuck his way through there that not many people are talking about, and I think potentially they should. And he's from Kansas City, and his name is not Kadarius Toney. What would you do if the Steelers signed Kadarius Toney? What would your thoughts be?
I would probably disassociate from everything for a solid 3 or 4 hours. Just seeing that. Obviously, this is a guy that has a lot of talent, but his issues on the field have been extensively known by everybody, not just in the Kansas City fan base. So I would hope the Steelers don't see that as their answer. I don't think they do either.
No, there's no chance, but I think it'd be hilarious if me and you have talked and it would be funny. Kadarius Toney is a dude who I have yelled at the television many times because I took a shot at him early in fantasy football last year, and I've never regretted anything more in my football life. I don't think anybody outside of Noah Brown really boosts this room too high. Justin Ross is a name that I would think about. I would look at him and say, I mean, he had potential. It definitely fell off. And I don't think that he was a guy that should have gotten drafted any higher, or I guess he was undrafted. So I don't think he was a guy that should have gotten drafted very high or comes to the NFL with the superstar potential. But at one point, somebody saw that, and then he dealt with a bunch of injuries, couldn't stay healthy. If the Steelers could get him for nothing and take a shot on him, why not? And worst case scenario, you bring him back to, or another scenario, you bring him back to your practice squad. I think that works out very well. The Steelers have to do two things in my opinion, and they have to get a wide receiver that is available to be a gunner on special teams, and Miles Boykin is my favorite right now in that category. I could see the Pittsburgh Steelers bringing Miles Boykin back. He doesn't do anything offensively, but he provides a weapon on special teams, and gunner is one of the most important positions on the field. I mean, there were a lot of people in this live stream over the last couple of weeks talking about how bad the special teams were. You need a Miles Boykin. Second, you need a guy who could move the needle just a little bit. Probably John Mechie, who Alan Saunders of Steelers Now reports they have called about, and they've reached out to see if they could get him. I think with Houston cutting Noah Brown, it probably signals that John Mechie is not available for a trade right now unless you really blow them away. And I don't think the Steelers are looking to blow them away.